96, Chattanooga's number one hit music station. Gino D here with you, and today we're joined by an artist who's been around music and live performing just about his entire life. From growing up on the road and performing in front of arena crowds at a very young age to doing some Broadway, songwriting, American Idol, and now a brand new musical chapter that he's just beginning. Baylee Littrell is joining me on the show. Baylee, thank you so much for connecting and talking music with me.
Of course, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You are released a song called So Be It. It's going to be out when this interview airs. It's going to be out and everywhere. And we're super excited to give people an introduction a little bit to that. And we're going to get into that song. But before we do, I figured we have a unique experience when it comes to how you found music and how your story kind of starts. So that's kind of where I want to start, is the very beginning. Kind of start where you found music, why you wanted to do it yourself, and kind of pursue your own career, and how it all began for Baylee Littrell.
So it really all began when I was about, I would say, 6, 7 years old, right around
Okay.
that time frame. I remember I was doing like a little summer kind of like music camp that was local. I was homeschooled growing up, so that was my way to meet kids and interact was, you do summer camp or you do some, music camps and then you would play sports.
Sure.
So that was really like the beginning, how things started. And during my summer camp they gave me a solo song in this thing, and it was Michael Jackson. And
Okay.
so it was I Want You Back, Michael Jackson, Jackson 5, and it just like I fell in love with it. And I obviously loved music up to that point, but I just
Sure.
kind of was like I was hooked. There was just
Right.
something about it that kind of stirred up something. And so my parents said that I would be walking around the house kind of singing that song, and finally my dad was like, "Hey, what are you singing there?" And I was like, "Dad, what are you talking about? It's Michael Jackson." And this is right around the time he had passed, right after I think he had passed. So it was
Okay.
like all just kind of crazy. And then of course, that made me pay attention even more. And I fell in love with music. I fell in love with pop and R&B music, and that's kind of really what I was raised on. I grew up
Right.
in a household full of like Brian McKnight and Boys to Men, Blackstreet, and then too, I grew up, like, listening to Sam Cooke with my grandpa, so that was all those influences were kind of building,
Sure.
um, and that was my first kind of love and an introduction to music. I had no fear, and I loved it.
Right.
As I got older and time went on, I dabbled in country for a long time and, felt that's where I was supposed to be, and 2, we were in this huge phase of country music was big, and it still is. It's at the forefront of music, and
Yeah.
it's okay. This is going to be cool. I can be different than the family legacy. I can start something new. Um, and the funny thing is, I've been telling people I was like, you can't really. I mean, we all know you can't run from who you are, but there's no better sign than that. I went to country, and the thing that we were all worried about being a spectacle and the family name and Backstreet Boys, and
Right.
it became the spectacle. Like and then some. And so we were all so shocked. We were like, "He's in a different, world of music. Like, how is this affecting everything?" And it affected things more. And so in the back of our brains, we knew that pop was where I was honestly probably supposed to be. It's what I naturally loved the most, writing, singing, and I had campaigned as, I'm being my true self and I'm being honest and I'm being out there. And deep down, I was like, you're not being honest with everyone. Like, this isn't easy for you to write. This isn't easy for you to exist in. So, uh, American Idol comes around. That was my, you know, last big push at really trying to get my name out there and try to succeed. And still, I was in this mindset of, I started in country, I have to keep going country, this is kind of how it's gonna go, and then I noticed as the time, went on the show, I was like, "Well, nothing you've done is country, maybe it's a little folky, but it's still just genreless," like, you're trying to
Sure.
figure out your way, um, and finally, by the end of American Idol, they were really trying to push me towards the more pop or soul and, rhythm and blues crowd, and I was just kinda like, "Guys, that's not what I wanna do." I want to be the next like Bob Dylan or, do country stuff. And they're like, well, we think fit this very well and you need to trust it. And I was like, yeah, well, thanks, but I'm going to do what I want to do.
Right.
And taking a year off after being off the show and really just kind of processing and trying to figure out what to do, finally came time to make that decision. And like, I was like, you know what, they're right. I just had to make a change. And since then, like, I wrote So Be It, and So Be It was kind of the catalyst for that change. I'd been dabbling, I thought about rock maybe or alternative,
Sure.
and then I was still thinking like, dude, stop trying to be cool and just be honest with people, do what works. And so I sat down and I started building this track, and I was, making So Be It, and, I was experimenting with Afro beats and, dance pop and R&B and, like, all these different influences and even, like, Europop, and I was trying to figure out how I could create, like, a fun track. So I sat there for a little while, built this track, and then the lyrics came in about 10 minutes, and I was just kinda sitting there like, "Wow, okay. Alright, now time to never play this for anyone, and it's gonna stay on the laptop." And finally, like, it drove me crazy for about a day or 2. I sent it to my dad, and, he was like, "I really like that song." And I was like, it's funny. Thanks for playing around with me." He's
Sure,
like,
sure.
"No, I like it." And he's like, "And your mom loves it." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And she's like my mom was like, "Yeah, I think that should be your first single." And we're like, "Wait, seriously?" I was like, "Guys, I've got all
Oh
these other
my.
songs," and,
Yeah, yeah.
we sent it to my producer, Keith Harris, who I've been working with on my new projects, and, he was like, "Yeah, we're going with So Be It." And I was like, "Okay,
There it
alright.
is.
Everyone else is confident, I'll jump on board." And so we got in the studio, and then I fell in love with it.
Right.
Like, what he was able to do with the song, it finally felt like for the first time I'd found who Bailey was in the studio. And I was like, "Okay, you felt so lost, you've doubted, the process the last couple of years and felt like you weren't on the right track." And then I felt like I was 8 years old at, music camp again in the studio, like,
Singing
it's
Michael Jackson.
fun. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fun. It was so cool. So, I'm super excited for what's to come, and I hope people resonate with it and love it because it's honestly just like the song of the summer for me in my brain, like, and I want people to feel that. It gives you like a tropical vibe too. So,
It definitely does.
you
Yeah,
know
yeah. It has a nice beat to it. It definitely makes you feel summer.
right.
So nailed it there. Bailey, what do you think was that hesitation to kind of make that move into pop? I know you went into it a little bit. Do you think it's because of the family connection and the legacy there, and maybe an expectation that was kind of there that you didn't want to have anything to do with?
I do. I
Yeah.
think,
I mean, I can only assume.
people see it from the outside. When I say I'm getting vulnerable, I'm finally vulnerable enough to tell people, yeah, like, the comparisons and the constant talk and it gets to you. It really does
Yeah.
get to you. And I think Idol was my breaking point. You're
Okay.
told this isn't going to be a, big deal at forefront. We're not going to use this a lot, and it's used. And you're kind of like, you know what? I mean, why not? Um, I can't control this. Why do I have a chip on my shoulder about it?
Sure.
Does it affect relationships I have with people or, the music industry? Yes, but it also helps in other aspects. And I think really what it came down to is it was like you're in this career path where people are kind of, prejudging you and they don't know
Hmm.
you yet. And you've been in Nashville in that scene for so long. And meanwhile, you have Pop here who knows who you are. They know definitely who your father is.
Sure.
And they're not saying a word. It's just very much kind of like, okay, what are you going to do?
Right.
Because we're going to say stuff, but come on in, let's give it a try. And it was just
Yeah.
very much like, okay, I'm coming home.
Yeah.
It
That's what I
was
mean.
so,
I would assume that the pop crowd or the pop listeners, fans, whatever you want to call them, would kind
yeah.
of embrace you a little bit and say, "Yeah, you're one of us. You're in. We want to have you play for us, sing for us, tell us your story."
And it's exciting because I feel like I've started to find my crowd, my musician friends,
Awesome.
my people that I love and love working with, and so that's definitely even just the culture of pop radio. I'm like, I love these guys, like it's
Yeah.
so great. It feels at home,
Sure.
and it's a different experience. It's very much like I thought, a whole lot of bad about the industry. And then you see the other side of it as well. And you're like, I mean, there's bad in every, part of the industry, but
Of
there's
course.
so much great, and good. And so I'm finding that and it's making me excited for the future and kind of, it's like recharging my batteries completely. So
Excellent.
I'm excited. I think too, really like embracing the legacy instead of, you know, looking on it and being afraid or resentful too, and really just being honest. Um, it's helped me, you know? And then
Yeah.
too, like, it makes me feel more like it is a legacy thing for us. It's not just me, it's like I want my dad's name to carry on, and I want people in music to hear that last name forever. So it's like, you know, for it to be pop, now it makes more sense. It's you see that the
Hmm.
lineage and the history building.
Yeah, the connection's a little bit more clear for people, and I think
Exactly.
people do enjoy it. I really do. I think there's an audience out there that is going to latch on to that and be like, "Yeah, this is awesome. This is a legacy. This is a story that's continuing on now through your music and everything." And you talked about American Idol. Obviously, that was a great breaking point for you in many ways. But one thing that you did on Idol that people talk about is you chose to go with your original music to kind of go to start off with things. And I know not all the artists do that. So that kind of, I'm can assume that was some type of lesson or some type of statement that you wanted to make while on a show to have such exposure and such a platform to be able to say, yeah, but I did this. This isn't me just singing karaoke or whatever it could be.
Of course, yeah. I was so determined to showcase songwriting too
Yeah.
because, you know, I'd been around that atmosphere for a while, and I think I wanted people to really hear me and take me seriously, and I felt that, like, that was the way that that was gonna happen. You know, it was like, "All right, well, national exposure it is." I was afraid of it, but I knew that's exactly what probably had to happen to be heard. So when I heard people's reaction to, you know, what I was performing and that original songs were helping me, you know, state my case through the show, I was so happy. I think when I got unhappy on the show is when I couldn't, you know,
Sure.
sing my
Right.
originals. So there were times where I was told, "Yeah, not this round." And you're kind of like, "But wait, I feel like people are singing originals or I feel like this." And it's like,
Yeah.
well, so I got lost. I feel like into a certain point in the show where then I think where they might have seen potential in another direction, I was very much like, combative with it because
Mhm.
I was like, "I know what I wanna do. I wanna sing this song or this song." And it's kinda funny how destiny smacks you in the face sometimes.
Comes
And
back around no matter what.
I feel like if I would have gone farther on the show, I would have only become more stubborn in my ways of trying to figure
Mm.
out what I wanted to do, rather than reflect. And so taking the time, also finding that competitive spirit for it again. Like, I mean, Idol will make you competitive. You see how
I bet.
ruthless it is with being competitive that it's honestly like it's given me that fire back to where I'm like, I will jump mountains if I can to make, you know, this successful and um just I'm determined. Like, I think this really kind of ignited that. So coming, you know, coming away from Idol and then just having time to rest, coming back with music and writing a whole new catalog. I mean, I thought there was a billion songs I was gonna do that, you know, had been sitting on the shelf for 2 years, and then now it's like, I mean, So Be It was written in late January, you
Wow.
know? So it's like it happened so quick.
Whole
Um,
new world. Whole new
yeah,
world.
whole
Because
new
you've
world.
said you've done a lot of songwriting, obviously, and that's something you wanted to highlight. You said you've had hundreds of songs, but now to change that direction a little bit, make a little bit of a pivot. Has that changed your creative process at all? Have that changed the way you kind of been looking at things now in kind of a pop world, or at least to have that sound?
Of course. Like, I'm so used to the classic, you know, pick up your acoustic and write a song or, you know,
Right.
dabble for hours and then finally get a little something and then it, you know, makes your mind explode. Um, but now I'm actually like, "Oh, there is such thing as technology and the computer," you know? And I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
people
yeah.
are doing that in any genre, but I just
Right.
always was so afraid of it and building tracks and stuff. I would have rather done it very, very organically. And so then finally I got into a phase of like, I wanna produce, and I've been too scared. And so now, again, I knew if I produced, it would probably go more pop somehow without me even realizing it, and then it wouldn't
Hmm.
fit. So now I'm like, "Okay, you know, lower your expectations, free yourself, allow yourself to produce, create, write, and see what happens." And it just changed the game. I was inspired. Songwriting was fun, it wasn't a stress. I kind of would have personal deadlines for myself when I wanted this
Sure.
song done or this song. And now I'm like, there's no deadline. It's just if it comes, it's there. You know, if it's not, maybe next week. And you get a, you know, influx of ideas, and that's the best part about it.
And that's it, man. And it's an industry, as you know, that if you're not enjoying it, why are you in it? Because I know there's a lot of stuff that people don't even know about that is putting on, creates that pressure and everything. So obviously, as long as you're feeling good, hats off to you. Congratulations. I think
Thank
that's a
you.
great spot to be in. We're excited. So be it. We're going to be playing it on the radio and introducing people to the music. I wish you all the best success. You checked off all my questions, man. You kind of nailed it there, which is great. One final question then, Baylee, and I think you kind of touched on it a little bit. So what is the plan then as an artist? What do you want people to walk away with when they hear So Be It and when they start to hear this new chapter that you're starting? What do you want people to walk away with when they hear Baylee for the first time?
I want the song to be stuck in their heads. I want them to enjoy it so much that they go back for more, and that they will then soon eventually have more to go back to and listen. And I think like the best way to put it is, there's so many songs out there that we listen to that we're just hooked to. And it's almost like, oh, I don't want to admit that I love this weekend song or this,
Sure.
Miley Cyrus song or whatever it is, right? And you're like, but I can't stop listening to it. And that's what I want to honestly kind of grow myself, is that, man, you know what? I tried not to, but I really love it. I have to listen to So Be It. And that's how it won me over too at first. I was like, I don't know
Yeah,
how I feel, it was just kind of the one of the first experimental songs, and now I'm like, I actually like this, you know? And
absolutely.
so I definitely want people to walk away with that and just kind of be hooked to the song. And so then I can be like, all right, guys, there's more. Here we go.
Yeah. Well,
So
we can help out with that for sure. Pop radio, very good at putting the earworms into people's ears and making sure that they keep bobbing their heads and singing along. So happy to make it a part of the playlist and to feature your music here. Next time you come around, I know you're doing some traveling in the future and such. Chattanooga is more than welcome to you. You can stop by anytime and maybe we do some performances for us and we can have some fun. So if you get back on that road, make sure you stop by. Okay.
we would love that. We'd love
All
that.
right. Thank you so much, Bailey. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, man.
Hey, it's a night.